Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this morning with our first Zoom Q&A for OSU's PDC Pro. And welcome, everyone. Really happy that you're all here. It's always nice. One of the thrills of the class for me is actually the Q&A. I quite enjoy going through this and answering questions and just taking a look at our assignments and trying to streamline the process for everyone. So what I think we'll do here is I'm going to share my screen and we will take a look at the Canvas platform. There we go. All right. So I'll just give you a quick walkthrough of the platform. It's not the most intuitive space. So let me just try and go through that with you. So when you log on to the platform, you'll probably see something a little bit different. These are all the other instructors. And you'll notice that you have a menu on your left, and then you have this sort of permanent menu on the far left that no matter where you go on the page, you're going to have this. So some of the key parts to this, one of them is the inbox. So if you want to send somebody a message or send me a message, you can utilize this. This is a great way of doing it. The other is, of course, just sending me an email, which you should all have my email. It was in an introductory note that I sent out a few days ago, and then I resent this morning because there are a few new members of the group. So there we go. Let's get back to the landing page here. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to show you was there's a few resources here that may take a little while to uncover. And where you'll find a couple of those on the left-hand side here. If you go down to modules and you click on that, and some of you may have already explored this already, you're going to see a bunch of introductory information here, some how-to videos. These would be really helpful for those that are sort of struggling with the first little bit. Just get my chat open here. I see a few people chiming in. So Derek is saying there is a different room that has 4 of us in it. Really? That is very interesting, Derek. Thanks for letting me know that. That is something I've not run into before. I did not know I could create that sort of an event here. Are you, Derek, do you mind just unmuting yourself? If you're still with us. Oh, maybe Derek's not here. Sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to, I'm not sure why we would have had other people in a different room. Okay, well, I'll presume that everybody's got shifted over here. Well, that's a new one.
We used to have 7 participants, now we have 11, so it looks like everybody came.
Oh, sorry, Renee. I didn't hear everything you said there.
Oh, I noticed that our participant count increased by at least four.
Yeah, yeah, it did go up. Now that's kind of normal at the beginning of a meeting, but yeah, that's very odd. Okay, well, we'll presume everybody's with us unless we hear otherwise. Um, yeah, I'll have to look into that. I've never been able to do that before. Hmm. Okay, well, if I just back up a little bit, and we were talking about resources on the Canvas page here. So if you log into the page and hit the manuals, or sorry, modules tab here, you will, oh, here comes Derek now. Maybe I'll just, all right. Hey, Derek, do you mind unmuting yourself? Oh, I'll just pop him a note. Right. Well, we'll just keep going here. So again, if we log into the site and we're looking at modules, if we go down the modules page here, we have a resource tab. Okay, thank you very much, Derek. I'm not sure why that is the case. Okay, well, I'll update the link that's in the Q. Are you talking about the Q&A discussion board? The link in that? I'm not sure what you mean by Canvas page, but we'll look into that and make sure that everything is in order. Okay. The Q&A page. Well, that's my mistake. Sorry about that. Okay, well, we'll get that sorted out. That won't happen again. Okay. Well, we'll try again. The modules page. Yeah, so check that out under resources here. There's some really interesting items from graphics and software tutorials right down to professional development. This is interesting. Client interface. So this is something that it's not really worded very well. But what it is, this page here, Andrew and myself and Kelda and Neil put together short videos about our process when we're sort of start to finish with clients and how our design process evolves. It's quite fascinating because everybody has a totally different approach, and I think you might all be interested in that, especially those that want to that are either designing or want to carry on from this course and pick that up as part of their um, revenue stream. So yeah, that's a really interesting little bit of info in there. The professional development resource. These are webinars that have already happened, and what we're starting to do, Andrew started with the first one here, is just sort of walking through and introducing the the way they go about their business, and a little bit more in depth to try and help people that want to finish this course and pick up as designers or get into the landscape trade in some regard. So these are very informative. Susan and Milo, they are other instructors. So they've done one. There's only been 2 so far, but this will, there'll probably be a few more during the course of this class. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things in here, and then we go into each individual lesson. So you can check that out if you wish. So that's a bit of a resource. If we go to our lesson 1 assignment board, this is where I know it's a little bit odd at first, but these discussion boards are where everybody's going to post their work and where you'll interact with other students in regards to these particular lessons. So if we go back, we can see all the discussion boards here, and some of them are pinned. So the ones that are pinned are traditionally current. And as we go through, I just pin these lower ones. But once you've got your lesson 1 assignment done, you would go to that discussion board. And then right here, where it says reply, you're going to post your work. So you basically just say here, hi, actually, I'll back up a little bit here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, what we want to do is first grab the template, right? So that's ideally how we want everybody to submit their work. And even though it might be a little bit of a learning curve at first, you'll find that this is a really efficient method of sharing work and allowing people to comment on your work without having to upload huge files. Because these template files, if you haven't downloaded it already, is quite large. And as you start adding information to it, it can get a little bit heavy in terms of the file size. So once you click on this link, you will come to this page here, and this is the master document. So you have to make a copy. So if you go under file and go make a copy, and you're going to copy the entire presentation, and then you can name it. So you can put your name there. You can do whatever you wish, and it will stick it on your Google Drive, and then you can position it wherever you want within that. So there we go. So once you've made the copy, you now have the ability to add information to this. And what you will find is that on the outer edges here, we have a whole bunch of tutorials. So that's the really nice thing about this template versus the old system that we had 4 or 5 years ago, where you had a help section separate to the file. This is all combined. So you can see there's very short video tutorials all through this, and on the left, and then often on the right, there will be a sample. So let's take a look at where. That is unusual. There we go. So we're getting some samples on the right-hand side here. So again, that's great. You have some examples with the help section, and every page you go through will have appropriate tutorials. Okay. So there is, the effort has been made to make this as, we recognize it's a little bit of a tricky start for some people just getting used to Google Documents if you haven't already done so. But there's lots of resources here. Now, if you get stuck and you just can't figure it out, you you just want to go back into this platform and hit the, you can hit the inbox and drop me a note. You can go down on the help button here and you will get a whole list of different resources. So your resources might look a little bit different than this, but there's basically 24-hour help that you can find within this. Okay. So that. So once we have our Google document. Oh. All right, we have a question here, Dean. Oh, Marvin. There we go, Marvin. Yeah, you go ahead. You can unmute yourself. I think you have a question, Marvin.
Yes, thank you. One second, I'm transferring to my computer. Here we go. All right, I have two questions. On this template, how do we change like where it says, for example, insert your name, project name, and all of that? And then when we submit this, how are we supposed to remove all of the like the blue and all of that when we submit it every week? We're using this template. Are we to go in and remove all of that stuff? Or we remove it as we go along on the lessons?
Yeah, that's well, there's a couple options here. You could, if you want, you can just leave these, but removing them as you go along is probably a good idea. Make your presentation look a little bit better. But it doesn't matter to me because I'm just going to be looking at the work you're doing. So the one thing that you'll want to do on the first page of the tutorial is there's going to be some information that answers your first question about how to add your name as a master, right? So it gets repeated through the pages, so you don't have to do this every time. So that would be right here, how to edit the master slide. Okay, so that's number 5 down the list here. So take a look at that. And once you have gone through the first assignment, which is, that's pretty straightforward. It's a personal survey. We're going to get a few pictures of your design site, right? So that's pretty straightforward. And then we have a little climate survey, which might take a little more work to find some of this data. So it's, if you're in a city or close to a city, you'll have no problem finding the information. If you're in a rural area that doesn't have a weather station, then you'll just want to look for one that is as close as possible to your location. And most of these weather maps or weather stations will contain that. So here's an example. Let's say you lived in Portland. Which I know a few of you do. There are a couple of things that you can click on here. And this is one right here. That's pretty good. And it's going to give you this info up here. So you don't really care about your Köppen-Geiger climate classification, even though it's asked for right here. That's just out of interest. Nothing else. So it used to be asked. I'm not sure where it is here. Maybe they've taken that off. But what is critical here is your, I guess we're going to Dubai. What's critical here is your annual average rainfall, right? So that's in millimeters or inches. And one of the things we ask you to try and find is your record 24-hour rain event. And there's a few things too. So I've seen a lot of people, if you go to Wikipedia and just say Portland, they have some nice climate graphs. So if you are in a city and you head down to this climate graph right there, that's quite nice. It has everything you need. So, and then you just copy that and paste it right in, right? So, or take a screenshot, whatever works for you. So the nice thing about this, in particular for rainwater harvesting, is we get our average annual precipitation rates for each month, plus the total at the end of the year here. So that's very handy. But once you've gone through and put in the info you want for this first assignment, then you're going to want to share that in the discussion board. And there probably is a tutorial on that here, but I can show you quickly how to do that. It's a very simple process. You're actually just going to go up to this share button in the top right. And you can see right now it says it's private to only me. So I'm the only one who can see it. But if you click on that, you get a couple of options here. And what you want to do is go under general access and just say anybody with a link. And then you have a couple options. You can just have it for people to view. Quite often people will allow others to comment on their work within the document itself. And you probably don't want to allow people to edit your work. So I wouldn't recommend that. But either one of these first two. So once you have that all set, you just hit copy link, and that will copy that document link to your clipboard. And we can go into the discussion board and just paste your link. Or if you want to get a little fancy, you can highlight some text and paste the link like that. So that that link is basically the same as that's shown below. And then you just hit post reply. So the trick here is you're posting at the very top of the page. So if I hit that, my post shows up down at the bottom here. Now, if I wanted to comment, say, on Jessica's work, I would post a reply right below her work. So if you're below somebody's work and post a reply, right, it's going to sit itself right there. If you post it at the top, it's going to stick it at the very bottom. So it's not a big deal. But and if you've done something that you want to undo, we will just delete that. So when I come in here and grade, I will be taking a look at your work. And what I do is I provide video feedback. So I'm going to bring your assignment up on my screen and walk through it with you. And then I'll post a link to that video in the discussion board here so you can watch it. I used to do written feedback, but I find this much more effective. And most people, I haven't had anybody ask me for to change my approach. So if for some reason you don't want video feedback, you prefer it to be in writing, I'm happy to do that. But I've so far not had to do that. So I think the video is a very effective approach. Now, I noticed at the very, I think it was the first week after sign up, we have a couple of people that posted part of their assignment number 1 here. So again, this is great information, right? This is what we want. But ideally what we want to do is place it within the template file. Okay, and then share that link. So yeah, does that make sense to everybody? If not, please either drop a, we have a question here. From Carmen, do you like us to cite our sources somewhere? Yeah, what we typically do, you can cite the sources, no problem there. There are some assignments, if we go along, more so in the second half of the course, when we get into, deeper things like the ecological survey and local plant survey. That's super helpful to have your sources for that, for sure. But you don't have to. It's not in the rubric, and that's one thing I wanted to show you here. So when I go to grade anybody's assignment, I use the rubric. And if you click on the rubric tab at the end here, you get some assignment resources, a little bit about submitting. Here's how to share your document if you need to see that again. But this is the rubric here. So if you have all this information in your lesson 1 assignment, you're good, right? So that's what I base my grading on, whether it's there or not. And then, obviously if it was an assignment, an example would be, showing your micro watershed, and it wasn't done correctly, well, you get graded accordingly. But one nice thing for everybody is if you've done an assignment and you say you didn't do one particular part of it correctly, I'm quite happy to take a look at a resubmission. You can always resubmit at any time. Okay. I wouldn't be providing you with feedback on the resubmission, but I'd regrade it. So there's no problem if you ever have an assignment and you're not happy with that, and you want to redo it, no problem at all. Let's see here. We've gone through that. I don't think there's anything else in the module that I was going to look at. Yeah, so these are the other part of the each discussion board is these little tabs. So with this assignment, we have basically 3 different components: the personal survey, the design site, and the climate survey. So those are really worth taking a look at. You get a very clear idea of what is being asked. And often there'll be a template link here. Now sometimes we get the occasional student who doesn't want to use the template, and you don't have to use it, but you'll find that let's say you wanted to just submit a PDF, and that works for the first few lessons, but because I've asked, and all the other instructors do this, we ask for this portfolio. So if you do lesson number 1 and submit it, and then you go on to lesson number 2, so we're going to look at base maps, right? We want to have all your previous work included when you submit number 2, and that goes the whole way through the course. So we might be on lesson 6, and as I'm grading your assignment, I might think, I've got to take a look at your some early project site images, so I can go back, take a look at those, and it's very, very helpful to provide you with the best possible feedback, and just keep all that information all in one place. So where I was going with this is, if you can see, I think the template's over 150 pages. If those are all PDF documents and there's lots of images in there, it's just going to be a huge file, and a lot of your fellow students may not be able to open it, right? So you want people to be able to view it and comment on it. Most people, just to review that, most people, as I've shown before, if you wanted to, let's say we wanted to comment on Marvin's assignment here, which I did earlier, just to let them know that we want to use the template file. Often comments go in the discussion board, right? But if we, let's take a look at here. See if, there we go. Here's some of Juan's work. Or one man. He's got his set to view only. So any comments on this will have to go into the discussion board. Okay, so you could then hit reply, say whatever you like, obviously in a respectful way. If one had set this to comment, we could go through here and we could highlight text and comment and place a comment right there, right? So there's a couple of ways to provide feedback. Often it's best to do it in here, but that's really a personal choice thing. So there's no right or wrong. Let me see if there's any other things that, oh, Derek's got a question here. So Derek has asked regarding the comments, if we make comments on Google Slides, do we also need to make them in the discussion board? No, you don't have to. Basically with your feedback with other people, other students, you know, it's kind of an honor system. We're asking you to do this and you're going to say that we don't have somebody going through and checking to make sure that you've commented. So wherever you want to do that is just fine. It's no problem at all. And Jenny D, are there comments on a separate layer that you can turn on and off? Yeah. Well, there is a setting here. This is the document I downloaded. If you go under, it should be under view, you can show comments and you can disable those. So they're not visible. They'll still be there though. And Renee has a question here. Maybe simply post one comment in the deck. Yeah, that's the way a lot of people do it. As most people are commenting here in the discussion board itself. And, you know, it's the tricky part with an online course because we're not all together, you know, physically together. It's this interaction part. And this discussion board, although it may not be a perfect setting, you know, it does provide us with this opportunity to interact on here. And I guess that's one of the reasons I prefer the video feedback is to, you know, and even with the introductions that people have made, introducing yourself, I try and do, you know, a little audio greeting. I find the whole text-based part of this, it can be difficult. And part of it's depending on, you know, whether, you know, your, how you learn. For me, I like to see things and do them with my hands versus reading a book and remembering that way, but. All right. Let us see if there was anything else here I wanted to cover. Yeah, it's just going through. So this might be an interesting document for some of you to look at. There is a link here on choosing a design site. So if you're not sure whether your project site sort of, well, we'll say qualifies, you know, if there's things you're unsure about it, you can go to this and take a look. And it's pretty simple. You basically, you need to have access to your site. At least at some point, right? So initially for documenting it, and you need to to be there on the ground for lesson 6 when we're doing some soil testing. There is a recommendation that the property have at least one building. Now, that I've had a number of students that have had, we'll call it vacant land or raw land that they've purchased, and it's had no building on it. So in that case, what I recommend is you put a proposed building footprint on the site, where you would put it, and probably a proposed access driveway. Okay, so you can, as far as I'm concerned, you could use a project site that doesn't have a building, provided you're you have that location of a proposed building, proposed driveway. And the reason for that is when we get a little bit later on in the course, well, even pretty soon, actually, lesson 3, we're going to be looking at doing a sector analysis. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but having a proposed residence is important for that. So yeah, this is a good little guideline, very simple. So if you have any questions, do take a look at that. And Derek says, hopefully we've thawed by by the soil test. No kidding. Gosh, where I live, and I'm on the east coast of Vancouver Island, which is in British Columbia. And on Saturday we had an Arctic outflow event here. I think we were at close to minus 20 degrees Celsius with the wind chill, and it's absolutely brutal. We had some challenges keeping our heat up in our house, but getting a little better now. So we do have this Q&A document. So if anybody on the call, you're not able to make a call and you do have a question, just post it here. And it looks like Derek's got a question. Actually, I think there's a couple of questions. So let's go through these and we'll make sure that we provide answers. So Derek's question is, can we substitute map markers as long as we have them? Substitute. Yeah, I don't, doesn't matter to me what that marker is. So sure, you do anything you want. And as far as the property boundary goes, I would try and follow what's in the template here. We're not at the base plan yet, but dotted red or solid red are, as you can see is in this example, a solid red is very, very easy to see. You don't have to work too hard to see where the property boundary is. Some people do different colors. I'm kind of geared towards red for a property boundary, but if you had to use another color, so be it. I would just I would try and stay consistent with some things. There are sort of best practices. One of those, as you'll notice here, is this north is orientated, the map is orientated north up. So that's something that you want to do, even if this does not fit nicely on the page. And this isn't bad, right? This looks pretty good. If we go to, this is basically a standard for architectural standard. I think it's global. Even down south of the equator, you'll see maps that are orientated north up. Okay, so when you're showing the entire site, that's definitely what we want to do. If you were to zoom in on your project site and you're showing some detail, say around the house or around a structure, it doesn't matter. You can rotate that any way you want. But for these overalls, we want to try and maintain that. So Renee has a question here. Yeah, and I see Derek, you were minus 20 Fahrenheit. Well, and Renee, we may have covered this as your suggested software. Yeah, I haven't covered that, Renee, and that's a good question. There are several things that you can do. So this can be one of the trickiest parts of the process for people. And if you are familiar with any software, design software, you can certainly use that. We occasionally will have architects or landscape architects as part of the course. And for them, you know, this is easy. It's an extension of what they do. For others, it can be tricky because we don't want you to spend your whole all your time learning software. We want you to be learning permaculture design. So a few things you can look at in terms of documenting your design work. If we go back here, let's just take a look at what they have updated on graphics and software tutorial. I haven't looked at this lately. So there's a little bit here on Google Earth, on PowerPoint. So these are, you know, very, very basic softwares that are good for the course, but you may not really want to use on a professional level, right? They may not provide you with the tools that you want, but for this course, they may be just fine. If you have an iPad, then this is a fantastic software. It really is. You need an iPad and an iPencil. Morpheo Trace. It is very low cost. I think it's about $30 a year for the subscription. You know, it's just ridiculously cheap. They have quite a few tutorial videos on YouTube. This has become more and more popular over the years, and it's pretty good. Like you can create multiple layers so that you can control the visibility, right? So as you build your design, you might turn one layer off and have another layer on. That is probably one of the easiest routes to go. I can show you what I use, but you're not going to want to go there. Oh. Works Landmark. I use this, but I've used it for 27 years. So, you know, it's easy, it's very powerful, and it's expensive. So unless you're designing on a regular basis, I don't think you'd want to. Now you can get a free trial, right? But I wouldn't necessarily recommend you download a free trial today, just in that probably takes close to a year to learn this software, you know, so I would steer away from that. But, you know, if you did find you were doing lots of design work and you want to expand your toolkit a bit, you know, maybe that's something you want to look at. It is an extremely powerful software. There are others. There's AutoCAD. I've never used that. I was really lucky. I just found Vectorworks. That happened. So that's an Autodesk. And again, it's going to be a similar price. And probably I've never used this, but I've heard mixed experiences from landscape architects about it. I think they learn on this. But whether they stick with it or not, you know, all software has its pluses and minuses. Dynascape, it's another one. I have tried this. I wasn't thrilled with it. So there's lots of different things you can reach out. The easiest thing to do would be to hand draw, right? So if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time learning a new software, and this would probably be the shortest learning curve, something like Morpheo Trace. I would just hand draw it. So that would just be a matter of getting some probably the best idea would be get some ruled, a ruled paper and do your base plan on that. And then every time you go to do a new assignment, you'd be creating a new layer with some trace paper over top of it. And I have lots of students that do that. And I totally encourage people to go that route, because really what we're doing here, there's, from my perspective, there's this two aspects of this type of design work. One is actually what's going on in your head, your design ideas. And then the graphical part is the articulating those ideas, right? So in this course, I'm not really, you're not going to get any critique on the articulation of your work. If I can understand what you're doing, that's wonderful. If I have any questions, I would certainly dive in to asking you about that. But we really want to focus on the whole design process, because it's, it takes a while. I've been involved in permaculture for about a decade, and the landscape industry almost 4 decades. So it's basically all my life, my working life. And, I just keep learning stuff. It just never ends, right? So it's quite amazing that way. And I think what you'll find is that once you learn permaculture design, that framework, you just keep learning more. And part of that is designing for others and implementing the design and then observing how it goes, right? That's the scary part. So it's actually not scary. I've never had a problem with it, but I can see some people that, be a little bit apprehensive, depending on the level of risk that the design entails. But one of the things that you might enjoy through the course is I will be showing you, examples of what we do, the deliverables we provide for our clients, which is, going to be quite different than what you're doing here, in so much as your template file is about 150 pages, thereabouts. And, we get this question quite a bit, like, do I use this to work and submit to clients? And I would say, no, this is for you to learn the design process. You could then cherry pick some things out of here for sure. But when we provide designs for acreage, like homestead acreage and urban properties, we're doing a base plan. Obviously, we do a sector analysis, which we're going to be doing in lesson 3. Then we will do a water layer, an access layer, and a soil layer. So these are very distinct layers that we overlay, and that gives us our overall concept. And as we go through the course with all of you, each time we do one of these Q&As, we'll be sort of exploring some of that, so you can at least see what we provide. It may be of interest, and that's one of the most fortunate things that's happened to me in my career is for about 2.5 years I was a project manager and estimator for a landscape firm in town here, one of the biggest on the island. And all we did was look at landscape architects' submissions for commercial projects. So we would bid those and then we'd execute them. And I got to see, I don't know, 5 or 6 drawings a week and just seeing other people's work. It does a huge, it's a huge learning, experience. You can see what really works. You know, as an estimator, you're looking at something, if you can understand it with minimal instruction, then that's a great drawing, right? That's one way of grading it. How easy is this to look at and understand? So that, yeah, very fortunate to have done that. So that really influenced me in my career. So we'll be sharing some of that with you. And there's another question on the Q&A document here I should get to. So Derek, I hope I answered your question fully there. And what I do at the end of the call is I'm going to go through and answer these. So this document, as we go through the course, we'll just keep growing and growing, and we'll have all these questions answered for people to reference. Oh, got another one here. So Rachel has a question. We're finding a challenge to find average temperatures. So you're in Portland. Yeah, I think I gave you a good example there, Rachel. If we go there. So this is one of the climate data resources you could look at. So in the US, and you're in a city, it's pretty easy to find. So average annual temperature in Portland's 11.3 Celsius or 52.4 Fahrenheit. Where I live, I think it's around 9.5 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty close, but yeah, that's a very useful number to have. Are we looking for 10 to 20? Yeah, a lot of this climate data is at least 30 years old. You need to have a long time frame to get proper averages. If you just took a few years, well, you're kind of throwing the dice a little bit. The frost-free days, they should be in here. And if they aren't, I think I closed Wikipedia. It would have it on there. So yeah, check that out. You should have no problem at all finding climate data for Portland at all. I can almost assure you of that. And if you have any trouble, drop me a note. And easiest thing to do is just search for climate data Portland. And there's another course that I periodically instruct with OSU, and that's the Advanced Permaculture Design for Climate Resilience. And in that course, we go through this type of stuff pretty heavy. So it is, there's lots of information out there, and the most accurate is going to be, you know, when you're getting into more government-based or airport-based weather stations. Okay. So hopefully that helped you, Rachel. Yeah, and they are easy to find, right? It's just the text you might be using to find them. So we have another question here. Bekek, I hope I'm pronouncing your first name properly. In Asheville, you're having a difficult time placing polygon on Google Earth Pro. Okay. I will get Google Earth going here. So it's just loading up. It takes me a little bit of time. I got so many things on it. So I'm going to go ahead and answer Grant's question here while we're waiting for that. And Grant mentioned that it's best practice. Make your base maps north facing. Is that the case even on long? Yeah, it is. It is. So you can see you're not here, right? So the advantage, if we take a look at, say, this template file, and we're looking at the base map section, and there's two different title bar orientations here. One's horizontal at the bottom, one's on the right. So, if you took you were going north up and you took this image, which I could probably just copy here. Oops. Go. Yeah, just want to delete all this stuff. Right, could just paste that in and rotate it. Now you'll have to bear with me. I don't usually use Google Slides for my work, but I know there's a way of rotating this. There we go. So that, where are we? Did I rotate it the wrong way? Yeah. Just keep going. There we go. So we're almost north up. And that would be okay if you're almost, right? And the one thing you'll find if you do this quite a bit is you get used to these maps being north up, so that you're automatically orientating your southern exposure at the bottom of the drawing. Not only that, there's going to come a point in the course when I have to most likely use this tool here, Contour Map Creator. And I'll just go to where I live. And we're not going to get into how to use this right now, but if I'm using this to look at a property and I can create contours, and this is always north up, I have no choice. And I'm trying to relate it back to this drawing. If it's in a north up position, it's a lot easier for me. And often if it's in a different position, it does get quite difficult to locate, because this particular site is not going to give me addresses. So if I punch this address in, it's just going to be in middle-ish of the page. Like it could be backed out quite a bit. It wouldn't be that much, but it does get hard to locate, especially if we're in more of an urban setting like this. So where are we? Okay. All right. So my Google Earth Pro is up and at 'em here. So let me just. All right. So I actually use Google Earth Pro for a few things. I don't use it for any design work, but you can see here, we had a project on Salt Spring Island, and I can grab LiDAR data using another software, and I can import these contours and overlay them on that. So it's kind of handy stuff. It's a good tool to know. So let us So we're going to go over how to use Google Earth Pro a little bit in our next Q&A meeting, so I'm not going to get into that. But let's just draw a polyline here. So I am north up, and I go to the polyline tool at the top here. That's polygon tool, and you may not see this, but I have another box open because you can't see my whole desktop. So I get a pop-up dialog box, which we're just going to leave. I'm not going to touch it. And so we just start clicking and we draw a polygon. Now, if I want to modify it, I can take the little pointer here and grab it and move it around. So let's say that was my property boundary, and it's obviously not showing it how I want. There's a dialog box that's open, and part of that, there's a tab that says style and color. So I can basically just make it an outline like I have there. And then I can change the color of that line to red. And then I can just press the OK button and we're good. So it's a fairly easy thing to do. You then have that in a menu on the left side, so I can change the visibility of that if I want. I can turn that on and off. So that is how you draw a polygon. Now, if that is still mystifying to you, there should be there should be a tutorial within the template file, and if not, even just Googling how to draw a polygon in Google Earth Pro. Google Earth Pro is pretty simple to use, and we're not going to use it a huge amount, but knowing those few tools is really helpful. Okay, so got another question here, and we're getting near the end of our meeting, so we'll have to, so you got it. Excellent. So I'm going to just stop this share and go back to go. All right. So yeah, we've done that. I think we answered Grant's question, so I think we're all good. So Grant, one of the things that I will put in the document here, one of the things I didn't mention with orientating north up and how it can be a little bit of a pain with a property like this is, let's say we make this bigger, and I obviously wouldn't have this part of the screenshot included, right? Your title block would be all down here, but or over here. One nice thing about doing this is it gives you lots of space on each side for any text, any what we call call outs, if you're trying to describe anything in the drawing. Let me just see if there's, see on these drawings, we have a legend, right? So that legend can get a little bit bigger. And if you were where my work went. There it is. If you were wanting to expand this, you have some space. So having some white space around your drawing is a good thing. You don't want that drawing so packed that you really gotta, spend a lot of time figuring out what is what. So that's one advantage, is having some space for some descriptions here. So what we do with our software, if we have a project like this, we just orientate the page so that it's in a portrait mode, right? So that it's still north up, but that page is orientated to maximize that. And unfortunately, we can't do that here. We can't just change one page to orientate in a different direction. So for the class, I would just sort of keep that in your mind. You want to be north up, and we'll just try our best to do that, just being a best practice. So yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. Does anybody have any other questions before we call it a day today? If there's anything else in here. Oh, Rachel had a question. Can you cite Wikipedia as a source? Sure. I know that might be, I would say Wikipedia climate data is fairly reliable. So yeah, I would say you can comfortably do that. Yeah, you're welcome, Grant. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. I hope it was a little bit of an icebreaker for you in terms of making it a little bit easier to go forward with your lesson 1 assignment. If for some reason you run into any trouble, you can just drop me a note. And one thing that I typically do is I'll send out, I'll try and find it right now. Bear with me 2 seconds here. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay. So I will just drop in the chat here a link. If for some reason you're absolutely stuck and you can't get forward with any of the lessons that are coming up, there's a link that I'll post in other Q&A sessions, but you can book a quick little Zoom meeting with me, and we can go over those challenges. Now, typically that doesn't happen early in the course, but when we get to, say, lesson 5, which is one of the hardest lessons for a lot of people, that's a resource that you can pull on. But we want everybody to move forward and enjoy the process and learn lots. So we don't want any barriers there. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful for everybody. And thank you very much again for joining me today. You have yourself a great week, and we look forward to seeing your assignments next Monday. So you take care, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.